What if the future of transportation was born not in a grand factory, but in a quiet German workshop with a single, wild idea? What if one invention by a determined engineer changed how the world would move forever? In the late 19th century, the world looked very different from today. Horse-drawn carriages ruled the roads, and the idea of a self-moving vehicle seemed more like science fiction than a realistic goal. But in the city of Mannheim, Germany, a man named Karl Benz was working on something extraordinary. Benz was not just a mechanic. He was a visionary with a deep understanding of engineering and a passion for solving problems. He believed that machines could make life easier and faster. He wanted to create a vehicle that didn't rely on animals for movement. Karl Benz had spent years studying mechanical engineering and working on engines. At the time, most engines were large, unstable, and difficult to manage. But Benz dreamed of a small, lightweight combustion engine that could fit inside a carriage. He believed that this invention could start a transportation revolution. In 1885, after years of design, trial, and error, Benz finally built what is considered the world's first true automobile. It had 3 wheels, a single-cylinder 4-stroke engine, and a simple frame. The vehicle looked more like a bicycle with a motor than a modern car. But it was the first of its kind, an engine-powered vehicle designed to move on its own. Benz's invention was called the motorwagen. It was a technical marvel, but not immediately a commercial success. People didn't understand why anyone would need a car when horses had worked well for centuries. Some even laughed at the idea. But Karl Benz had a secret weapon. His wife, Bertha Benz, believed in his work more than anyone else. In 1888, without telling her husband, Bertha took the motorwagen and went on a long journey to prove its value. She traveled over 100 kilometers with her sons from Mannheim to her hometown of Pforzheim. It was the first long-distance journey ever made in an automobile. Along the way, she stopped to refuel at pharmacies and made minor repairs with the tools she had brought. Bertha's bold trip showed the world that the automobile was not just a toy or a failed experiment. It was real, it was useful, and it was the future. News of her journey spread quickly. People began to take the invention seriously. The motorwagen was improved over the next few years. Benz added gears, better brakes, and stronger parts. Soon, the Benz automobile became a symbol of innovation. Wealthy individuals and forward-thinking businesses began placing orders. Karl Benz founded Benz & Cie, a company dedicated to producing and improving his automobile. Demand slowly grew, and so did the recognition of his genius. At the same time, another man in Germany was chasing a similar dream. His name was Gottlieb Daimler, and his work would soon intersect with Benz in remarkable ways. But for now, Karl Benz had done the unthinkable. He had taken the idea of a motorized vehicle and made it real. And thanks to Bertha's unforgettable journey, the world began to see what was possible when bold ideas met bold actions. The road ahead would not be easy. Competition, skepticism, and technical problems lay in the future. But a quiet revolution had begun, powered by steam, fire, and the unshakable belief that the world could move faster and farther than ever before. That belief started in a small workshop in Germany, with the hum of an engine and the dream of a man who refused to give up. And that dream, as we will see, was only the beginning of something far greater than he could have imagined. While Karl Benz was refining his early automobile in Mannheim, another innovator in Germany was building a parallel legacy. Gottlieb Daimler, a mechanical engineer with a bold vision of his own, was developing engines that would one day carry the name Mercedes into global fame. Daimler, along with his talented partner Wilhelm Maybach, believed in creating compact, high-speed combustion engines. Their goal was simple but ambitious: to build engines that could power anything from a bicycle to a boat, and most importantly, a motorized vehicle. In 1885, the same year Benz completed his motorwagen, Daimler and Maybach developed their own combustion engine. They installed it on a 2-wheeled wooden frame, creating what many consider the first motorcycle. The small but powerful engine was a marvel of engineering. It opened doors to new applications in transportation and showed the potential of internal combustion power. Unlike Benz, who focused early on automobiles, Daimler and Maybach were building engines for broader uses. But the automobile idea was never far from their minds. By 1886, they had built a motorized carriage of their own. Their vehicle used a four-wheeled design and had a more powerful engine compared to Benz's early model. While both inventors were working towards similar goals, they did not collaborate or even know each other personally at first. Germany was experiencing a wave of innovation, and multiple engineers were chasing the future from different directions. The Daimler Motorengesellschaft, better known as DMG, was officially established in 1890. The company quickly began producing engines and vehicles that attracted attention for their performance. One of the most important figures to support Daimler's work was a wealthy Austrian businessman named Emil Jelinek. A passionate automobile enthusiast and racing promoter, Jelinek wanted faster, safer, and more stylish vehicles. He made a deal with DMG to design a new line of cars that would bear the name of his daughter, Mercedes. That name, simple and elegant, would soon become one of the most recognized in the world. The first Mercedes-branded car, launched in 1901, was a breakthrough in both design and performance. It was lower to the ground, more stable, and had a more powerful engine than anything before it. The success of this model helped Mercedes become a dominant name in racing and luxury. Wealthy buyers were drawn to its speed and sophistication. Motorsport became a key part of the Mercedes identity. The cars proved themselves in demanding races and gained a reputation for reliability and engineering excellence. While Benz and SI was steadily growing, the Mercedes brand from DMG was racing ahead, capturing headlines and customers across Europe. Though Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler were never partners during their lifetimes, their paths were beginning to align. Their innovations laid the groundwork for something even greater than either of them had achieved alone. The German automobile industry was flourishing, but the road ahead would not always be smooth. Competition intensified, markets shifted, and economic challenges loomed. Yet both Benz and Daimler had created more than just machines. They had sparked a revolution in human mobility. A new era of transportation had begun, and their engines were leading the way. Their companies were not yet merged, but their legacies were already intertwined. And soon, history would bring their visions together under one legendary name. By the early 1920s, the world had changed dramatically, and so had the automobile industry. The devastating impact of World War I left economies in ruins and industries struggling to survive. Germany was especially hard hit, and both Benz and SI and Daimler Motorengesellschaft, DMG, faced uncertain futures. The cost of production was high, consumer demand was low, and inflation was making business unpredictable. In this fragile climate, the idea of a merger between the two former rivals began to make sense. The strengths of Benz and SI in manufacturing and the global reputation of the Mercedes brand from DMG could complement each other. In 1926, the merger officially took place, forming a single, powerful company, Mercedes-Benz. The union was symbolized by the now famous three-pointed star logo, which stood for Daimler's dream of producing engines for land, sea, and air. This symbol would come to represent not only engineering excellence, but also the ambition to lead in every field of mobility. The new company quickly got to work producing vehicles under the Mercedes-Benz name. These early cars blended the technical genius of Benz's designs with the speed and elegance of the Mercedes line. The result was a range of automobiles that were luxurious, durable, and refined. Mercedes-Benz introduced innovations that set the standard for the entire industry. Their cars were built not just for transportation, but for style, performance, and status. The company also focused heavily on craftsmanship. Each vehicle was assembled with great care, making Mercedes-Benz a name associated with quality. Throughout the late 1920s and into the 1930s, the brand's reputation grew across Europe and beyond. From city roads to grand racing circuits, the silver star began to shine. One of the defining characteristics of Mercedes-Benz was its commitment to pushing the boundaries of what cars could do. Racing remained an important part of the brand's strategy. The legendary Silver Arrows race cars were introduced in the 1930s, showcasing Mercedes-Benz's dominance in international motorsport. These cars were sleek, fast, and technologically advanced. They won race after race, cementing the company's status as a leader in automotive innovation. The combination of racing success and luxurious road cars created an image of prestige and power. Mercedes-Benz vehicles were not just machines. They were symbols of progress, engineering, and vision. They represented the best of what the German automotive world had to offer. As the world entered another period of turmoil with the approach of World War II, the automotive industry would again face incredible challenges. But the foundation laid by the merger of Benz and Daimler would prove to be strong. Mercedes-Benz had become more than the sum of its parts. It was a brand built on visionaries, innovation, and resilience. The dream that began in two separate workshops had now merged into a legacy that was just beginning to take shape on the global stage. When World War II erupted, the automotive industry was quickly drawn into the demands of the war economy. Mercedes-Benz, like many other major manufacturers, was redirected from civilian vehicles to producing military equipment. The company began building engines, trucks, and even aircraft components for the German war effort. Production increased rapidly, and the factories expanded to meet military needs. But with this growth came moral and ethical challenges. Mercedes-Benz, under pressure from the Nazi regime, utilized forced labor during the war, an action that would stain its legacy for decades to come. Tens of thousands of people, many of them prisoners or foreign workers, were forced to work under harsh conditions. This dark chapter became an important part of the company's history and would be acknowledged in later years with formal apologies and reparations. The war took a massive toll on the company's infrastructure. Allied bombing raids heavily damaged or destroyed many of Mercedes-Benz's factories. By the end of the war in 1945, the company was in ruins. Germany itself was devastated, and Mercedes-Benz faced an uncertain future in a divided and broken nation. However, the spirit of innovation and determination remained alive. As early as 1946, Mercedes-Benz began rebuilding, using whatever resources they could gather. Former employees returned to shattered facilities and began the long process of restarting production. At first, they focused on simple commercial vehicles to help with reconstruction. By 1949, Mercedes-Benz had returned to making passenger cars. Their first post-war car, the 170V, was based on a pre-war model but improved for practicality and performance. It was a sign that the company was ready to return to its roots, craftsmanship, reliability, and progress. The early 1950s saw the rebirth of Mercedes-Benz as a force in the automotive world. In 1954, they launched the 300 SL Gullwing, a vehicle that redefined what a car could be. With its iconic upward-opening doors, fuel injection system, and racing pedigree, the 300 SL became a global sensation. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of Germany's post-war recovery. The world began to view Mercedes-Benz not only as a car maker, but as a symbol of resilience and rebirth. The company didn't stop there. It continued to introduce vehicles that combined engineering brilliance with luxury. Mercedes-Benz re-established itself in motorsport as well. Success on the racetrack helped rebuild the brand's prestige, attracting both attention and admiration. Throughout the 1950s and into the 1960s, Mercedes-Benz was known for creating vehicles that were dependable, beautifully engineered, and elegant. Government officials, business leaders, and celebrities drove Mercedes-Benz vehicles as a mark of success and sophistication. The brand had reclaimed its place at the top. But what truly set Mercedes-Benz apart during this time was its dedication to long-term vision. While other companies focused on flashy marketing or short-term sales, Mercedes continued to invest in research, quality, and reputation. They knew that true greatness was not built overnight. It was built over decades, sometimes in silence, sometimes in hardship, but always with purpose. By the end of the 1960s, Mercedes-Benz had re-established its reputation worldwide. The war was behind them, but its lessons would continue to shape their future. With a growing global market and renewed confidence, the company was ready to explore new heights in design, safety, and innovation. As the 1970s unfolded, Mercedes-Benz entered a period of rapid innovation and global expansion. The company was now recognized not just as a carmaker, but as a symbol of engineering excellence and refined luxury. With increasing competition from American, Japanese, and European brands, Mercedes-Benz focused on what it did best: building vehicles that combined safety, performance, and long-lasting quality. During this era, Mercedes made major advances in vehicle safety. It became one of the first automakers to introduce crumple zones, which absorb energy in a crash and protect passengers. They also invested heavily in the development of anti-lock braking systems, ABS, a revolutionary technology that would become standard in most cars decades later. These innovations weren't just about staying ahead, they reflected the company's commitment to protecting lives. Mercedes-Benz also expanded its model lineup to reach a wider audience. The S-Class, which would become the flagship of the brand, debuted during this period and set new standards for luxury sedans around the world. Each generation of the S-Class was more than a car. It was a showcase of cutting-edge technology, elegant design, and quiet power. Business leaders, diplomats, and royalty drove these cars as symbols of success. At the same time, Mercedes introduced more accessible models like the E-Class and C-Class, which allowed a broader group of customers to experience the brand. Quality and engineering were never compromised, even in smaller or more affordable vehicles. While Mercedes-Benz continued to build its reputation in Europe, it also focused on expansion in North America and Asia. Dealerships grew, sales increased, and the brand's identity became truly global. The three-pointed star became a familiar sight not just in major cities, but also in small towns and emerging markets. It stood for something beyond transportation. It stood for trust, reliability, and prestige. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Mercedes-Benz continued to push boundaries. Innovations in diesel technology made their vehicles more fuel-efficient without sacrificing performance. The company also explored alternative fuels and environmental responsibility before these became industry-wide priorities. Sustainability had entered the conversation, and Mercedes was already taking steps to adapt. Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz cars continued to dominate in design competitions and safety tests. The brand's reputation for durability became legendary. Owners often reported their vehicles running smoothly after hundreds of thousands of miles. Every detail of a Mercedes vehicle was carefully designed. From the stitching on the seats to the click of a door handle, the brand delivered a sense of precision that others struggled to match. By the late 1990s, Mercedes-Benz had cemented its place as one of the world's most admired luxury automakers. But the company wasn't content to rest on its legacy. As a new century approached, so did new challenges. Technology was changing rapidly, customer expectations were rising, and the world was becoming more interconnected. Mercedes-Benz prepared to enter this new era the same way it had built its past, with discipline, curiosity, and a deep belief in the power of innovation. As the 21st century began, Mercedes-Benz found itself at a critical crossroads. The world was changing fast, and so were the expectations of drivers everywhere. Luxury was no longer defined only by leather seats and quiet cabins. It was about connectivity, sustainability, and intelligent systems that could think ahead. Mercedes-Benz embraced this transformation with bold ambition. The company launched a new wave of digital technology, making cars smarter, safer, and more connected than ever before. Touchscreen controls, voice assistants, and advanced infotainment systems became standard in most models. The driving experience was evolving, and Mercedes was leading the way. Autonomous driving also became a serious focus. Mercedes-Benz introduced features that allowed vehicles to brake, accelerate, and even steer without constant driver input. These technologies brought a futuristic feeling to everyday driving. They also proved the brand's commitment to redefining mobility. But innovation wasn't limited to electronics. Mercedes-Benz recognized the growing need for environmental responsibility. The company made major investments in electric mobility, launching the EQ series of fully electric vehicles. These models combined zero emissions driving with the style and performance expected from the brand. From the compact EQB to the luxurious EQS sedan, Mercedes showed that sustainability and sophistication could go hand in hand. Each electric model was a step toward a carbon-neutral future. The company also began transforming its manufacturing processes, aiming to reduce emissions across its supply chain. Green factories, renewable energy, and recyclable materials became key pillars of Mercedes-Benz's vision. Meanwhile, the traditional models like the S-Class, G-Class, and AMG performance cars continued to evolve. These vehicles balanced heritage with innovation, reminding the world that the Mercedes spirit was alive in every detail. The global market brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. Mercedes-Benz expanded its presence in China, India, and Latin America, adapting to regional needs while maintaining global standards. The brand also deepened its connection with younger generations. Sleek designs, digital-first marketing, and innovative concept cars helped attract a new wave of enthusiasts. In the world of motorsport, Mercedes-AMG returned to the spotlight in Formula One. Their dominance with multiple world championships reinforced their engineering excellence on the world stage. Each victory on the track added to the legend of the three-pointed star. But the company's true race was toward the future. Mercedes-Benz outlined a bold vision for the coming decades, fully electric, autonomous, and digital. It promised a world where luxury means peace of mind, sustainability, and intuitive experiences. Even as the world faces uncertainty, the brand remains steady. Its legacy gives it the strength to lead, and its innovations keep it relevant in a fast-moving era. From the first motor wagon in a small German workshop to electric cars powered by artificial intelligence, the journey of Mercedes-Benz reflects a story of constant reinvention. It is a story driven by purpose, powered by excellence, and guided by a symbol that continues to shine around the world. The road ahead is open, and Mercedes-Benz is still driving it into tomorrow and beyond. The story of Mercedes-Benz is not just about cars. It's about vision, determination, and the pursuit of excellence. From the first motorized carriage to intelligent electric vehicles, every chapter reflects the same core belief. That innovation drives the world forward. For over a century, Mercedes-Benz has led with courage and crafted with care. Its journey is filled with engineering milestones, unforgettable designs, and a commitment to shaping the future of mobility. But this story is far from over. With each new model, each breakthrough, and each bold idea, Mercedes-Benz continues to redefine what it means to move through the world. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring ride through history. If you enjoyed the story and want more fascinating journeys from the world of invention, adventure, and legacy, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts below. Which part of the Mercedes-Benz story inspired you the most? Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and never stop driving forward.